Hello again, Andrew here, and we're going to start our reading marathon on the Roman Antiquities by Dionysius of Halicarnassus. So, we start at the beginning, Book 1. Although it is much against my will to indulge in the explanatory statements usually given in the prefaces to histories, yet I am obliged to prefix to this work some remarks concerning myself. In doing this, it is neither my intention to dwell too long on my own praise, which I know would be distasteful to the reader, nor have I the purpose of censuring other historians as Anaximenes and Theopompus did in the prefaces to their histories, but I shall only show the reasons that induced me to undertake this work, and give an accounting of the sources from which I gained the knowledge of the things that I am going to relate. For I am convinced that all who propose to leave such monuments of their minds to posterity as time shall not involve in one common ruin with their bodies, and particularly those who write histories in which we have the right to assume that truth, the source of both prudence and wisdom, is enshrined, ought, first of all, to make choice of noble and lofty subjects, and such as will be of great utility to their readers, and then, with great care and pains, to provide themselves with the proper equipment for the treatment of their subject. For those who base historical works upon deeds inglorious or evil or unworthy of serious study, either because they crave to come to the knowledge of men and to get a name of some sort or other, or because they desire to display the wealth of their rhetoric, are neither admired by posterity for their fame nor praised for their eloquence. Rather, they leave this opinion in the minds of all who take up their histories, that they themselves admired lives which were of a piece with the writings they published, since it is a just and a general opinion that a man's words are the images of his mind. Those, on the other hand, who, while making choice of the best subjects, are careless and indolent in compiling their narratives out of such reports as chance to come to their ears, gain no praise by reason of that choice, for we do not deem it fitting that the histories of renowned cities and of men who have held supreme power should be written in an offhand or negligent manner. As I believe these considerations to be necessary and of the first importance to historians, and as I have taken great care to observe them both, I have felt unwilling either to omit mention of them or to give it any other place than in the preface to my work. 2.1. That I have indeed made choice of us, what doesn't it write? The widest dominion, and both in peace and war, performed the most brilliant achievements, he will find that the supremacy of the Romans has far surpassed all those that are recorded from earlier times, not only in the extent of its dominion and in the splendour of its achievements, which no account has as yet worthily celebrated, but also in the length of time during which it has endured down to our day. For the empire of the Assyrians, ancient as it was and running back to legendary times, held sway over only a small part of Asia. That of the Medes, after overthrowing the Assyrian Empire and obtaining a still wider dominion, did not hold it long, but was overthrown in the 4th generation. The Persians, who conquered the Medes, did indeed finally become masters of almost all Asia, but when they attacked the nations of Europe also, they did not reduce many of them to submission, and they continued in power not much above 200 years. The Macedonian dominion, which overthrew the might of the Persians, I said it very odd there, sorry about that, which overthrew the might of the Persians, did in the extent of its sway exceed all its predecessors, yet even it did not flourish long, but after Alexander's death began to decline, for it was immediately partitioned among many commanders from the time of the Diadochi, and although there time it was able to go on to the second or third generation, yet it was weakened by its own dissensions and at the last destroyed by the Romans. But even the Macedonian power did not subjugate every country and every sea, for it neither conquered Libya, with the exception of the small portion bordering on Egypt, nor subdued all Europe, but in the north advanced only as far as Thrace, and in the west down to the Adriatic Sea. Thus we see that the most famous of the earlier supremacies of which history has given us any account, after attaining to so great vigour and might, were overthrown. As for the Greek powers, it is not fitting to compare them to those just mentioned, since they gained neither magnitude of empire nor duration of eminence equal to theirs. For the Athenians ruled only the sea coast during the space of 68 years, nor did their sway extend even over all that, but only to the part between the Euxine, as in the Black Sea, and the Pamphylian seas, when their naval supremacy was at its height. The Lacedaemonians, as in the Spartans, when masters of the Peloponnesus and the rest of Greece, advanced their rule as far as Macedonia, but were checked by the Thebans before they had held it quite 30 years. But Rome rules every country that is not inaccessible or uninhabited, and she is mistress of every sea, not only of that which lies inside the Pillars of Hercules, as in Gibraltar and Morocco, but also of the ocean, except that part of it which is not navigable. She is the first and the only state recorded in all time that ever made the risings and the settings of the sun the boundaries of her dominion, nor has her supremacy been of short duration, but more lasting than that of any other commonwealth or kingdom. For from the very beginning, immediately after her founding, she began to draw to herself the neighbouring nations, which were both numerous and warlike, and continually advanced, subjugating every rival. It is now 745 years from her foundation down to the consulship of Claudius Nero, consul for the second time, and of Calpurnius Piso, who were chosen in the 193rd Olympiad. From the time that she mastered the whole of Italy, she was emboldened to aspire to govern all mankind, and after driving from off the sea the Carthaginians, whose maritime strength was superior to that of all others, and subduing Macedonia, which until then was reputed to be the most powerful nation on land, she no longer had as any rival any nation either barbarian or Greek, and it is now in my day already the 7th generation that she has continued to hold sway over every region of the world, and there is no nation, as I may saw, that disputes her, or I may say that's a typo, that disputes her universal dominion or protests against being ruled by her. However, to prove my statement that I have neither made choice of the most trivial of subjects, nor proposed to treat of mean and insignificant deeds, but am undertaking to write not only about the most illustrious city, but also about brilliant achievements, to whose like no man could point, I know not what more I need say. And that is the beginning of our Dionysius of Halicarnassus, Marfan, reading out the Roman antiquities. See you next time.